This is from Dio of Prusa, and it's a very difficult passage. I have worked so hard on translating this, and I've gone back to it again and again and again, and the version that I'm going to read for you now is so thought through that I could have 5 minutes on almost every word, but I'm going to try to read it first very quickly and then highlight some of the things that I think are particularly noteworthy. Mm-hmm. Because of their attraction to the divine unknown, daimonion, all humans have a powerful erotic desire, Erōs, to worship, timān, and to take care of, Therapeuein, the divinity, Pheidion, the divinity that they know. By being up close to it and near it as they approach it and try to touch it in an act of persuasion, and they sacrifice to it and offer it garlands. Quite simply, they are like disconnected nēpioi, children, who have been torn away from their father or mother and who, feeling a terrific urge, himeros, and longing, pothos, often reach out their hands while they are dreaming in the direction of their parents who are not there. So also are humans in their relationship with the gods, loving them as they do, and justifiably so, because the gods do good things for them and have an affinity with them. But in their love for the gods, humans strive in all possible ways to be with them and in their company. Well, this is so jam-packed with things to talk about, and I've already given my working definition of metonymy, where meaning is activated by way of connection. And here, the speaker is saying that the best way for humans to relate to the gods is somehow to touch them or to come into contact with them, or let's say it another way, to make contact with them. It's no accident that Dio of Prusa has staged this statement to come from the mouth of all people, Pheidias of Athens, arguably the greatest sculptor of ancient Greek civilization, the one who produced what is sometimes called one of the 10 wonders of the world, the statue of Zeus at Olympia. And he's actually thinking of how he made that statue and why he made that statue in making this statement.
Why do you say that, Greg?
It's just amazing.
Why do you say that?
Well, as it turns out, I'm sort of ripping this statement out of context, but in the work of Dio of Prusa, it's actually
It's made clear.
This man, Pheidias, who is saying, why did I make that statue? This is why I did it. Humans need to make contact with divinity in such a way that they can relate to that divinity. So the divinity has to look like us humans, even if they're larger scale. And of course, the statue of Zeus, this ivory gold statue at Olympia, is so scaled up that it's almost impossible to imagine it inside a temple. Mm-hmm. That's the impression that ancient visitors got. And I just love the way when you're without this divine presence that you can reach out to and touch, then you feel disconnected, like children who are literally cut off from the ancestral patterns that make us all reassured that we're humans.
And that leads to longing.
And that leads to longing. And of course, the longing is expressed here very sexually. It's an Erōs, to worship, an erotic desire. And everybody knows in the ancient world that Pheidias' statue of Zeus is very eroticized. So it's like the most erotic way of representing an adult male figure.
Greg, you're highlighting the word nēpioi here?
Yes, and how Nēpios, which literally means, if you trace back the prehistory of the word, disconnected, disconnected intellectually, morally, emotionally. That's how humans, in the words of Pheidias as imagined here, that's how humans feel when they're cut off from divinity, is they just have that need, which is like a parental need, but it's also erotic. And that's something that you wouldn't say about how you feel about your your parents necessarily, but that's the way it's said here in the original Greek. So Dio of Prusa stages this great sculptor from the classical era, the 5th century. Dio stages Pheidias as saying that all humans have a powerful erotic desire. And uses the word Erōs. You just can't get away from the erotic here. And so the urge to worship is an erotic urge in terms of this, this way of looking at things. And it's exaggerated, but I think it is saying something that's very typical of the culture. It's one of the most precious statements about what makes people in the ancient world, in the pre-Christian Greek world, worship gods. And so they just want to get close to them. They want to touch them. They want to have that connectedness. And so they're even ready to Therapeuein, to take care of them. And we're going to study in hour 6 all sorts of interesting connotations about what does it take to take care of a god. And I won't go into that now. But what I do want to emphasize maybe one last time is that this idea of loving gods is almost not conscious. I like the image where somebody wakes up in the middle of the night, and even if they're adults, they reach out for something. It's as if they're reaching out for mother or for father, for some kind of comfort. And that gesture somehow extends to this desire to worship. So it's like being lost, being intellectually, again, morally, emotionally lost, as you suddenly come to, and then you reach out for something and you don't even know what it is. But if that something is a human shape, even if it's larger than life human, that's really reassuring.
So this erotic desire that humans have for
Yes.
the gods, I mean, if we think about now the poems of Sappho,
Yes.
where the bride and the groom are
Yes.
likened to gods, suddenly it makes even more sense, right?
It's a perfect example. It's a perfect example of how a song culture can celebrate this very special moment when two people get together and eventually are going to continue humanity. And all of this is connected with these special divine moments. And we're so attracted to them that the best way to describe it is in terms of a sexual attraction. It's amazing.
Should we be thinking also about what we discussed earlier this hour about the attraction for the sun? Right?
Oh, yes, yes. And in fact, the speaker here is really concerned about that, because he says, one way to try to connect is to think about these beautiful cosmic forces. But sometimes that's not enough. You just have to have some kind of humanoid,
Something physical.
way of making that contact. And I think you see that in Sappho 16, don't you? Where okay, I love the sun more than anything else. I passionately love the sun. But then, what does that remind me of? Oh, I miss Anaktoria. When she's singing and dancing, there's this luminous essence. And I would just give anything for that. So there it is. It's still that need to do it in our own human terms.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.